finding things? Good, good, I'm glad. No, this is a great company, and we're very much pleased to have you here with us. Oh, yes. Yes, he does have some stories, yes. Do I have any stories? Maybe one or two. You've heard that I went on a bit of an adventure. Maybe. You want to hear the story? Well, I suppose I could tell you. I doubt anyone would believe you if you repeated it. Okay. Well, I suppose I'll start at the beginning. It was on one of my first ever apartment buildings that I was having built. Up until then, I think it was my first actually. Up until then I'd been buying and renting houses, and I was now going to build a block of apartments to rent out, and I was very excited about this. So naturally I was very curious, and I went down to the building site in the very early stages where the foundation was being dug out. It was quite a sight, to see, very interesting. And I went down. I asked if I could go down and have a little look around. And I suppose it was like a big kind of, different levels, and effectively a huge hole in the ground with various different pipes being laid and all kinds of things like that. And I remember being fascinated with the amount of things that had to go into it. So I was wandering around on my own. I had a hard hat on and safety boots and such. And I was, I remember walking. There seemed to be another layer down. It was like a quite small area, and I think it was, I'm not sure, perhaps something for the lift shaft or something like that. It was perhaps for a stairwell or something. So I went down, and I noticed there was a hole, like a door-sized hole, and I thought, that's interesting, but it wasn't secure. It was literally carved out of the ground, out of a wall of dirt, effectively, dirt and clay, and rock and such. And I thought, that's very interesting. It was effectively the entrance to a tunnel, and you couldn't see it from up above. It was kind of hidden, And there were some boxes and different things kind of in the way, so you couldn't really see it unless you were right down in there next to it. So I decided to investigate. And so I got my phone out and put my torch on. And I began to walk into this tunnel. And I was a little bit nervous about it caving in, but I was far too curious not to go. And I didn't really want to turn around in case they told me I wasn't allowed to go down there. So I went in. The tunnel went on for a long time. Thinking back, I'm not sure why I kept walking. I think the curiosity of it just got the better of me. And I realized after about 10 minutes that I had probably walked about, I don't know, 500 100 yards or so, so I was quite a long way in at this point. I was walking quite quickly because I wanted to see what was going on, and for some reason, even though it seemed like it shouldn't really be held up, I did feel quite secure, but nevertheless I wanted to get through there quite quickly. Anyway, after a short while, I noticed that there was a light ahead, which was, I must admit, a great relief. And I realized that there was some kind of an opening ahead of me. So I came out eventually into a kind of hall, I suppose, like a grand hall, and very much a building. And it was decorated in a very sort of classic Georgian style. I would imagine it was probably built around the late 1700s to early 1800s. A magnificent room. It was huge, absolutely huge. So naturally I called out and said, "Hello, hello, is anybody here?" And I didn't get any response. I couldn't see anybody. As I was walking round, so this room had pillars down, like running down the sides of it, and it also had these huge chests, like big boxes that were beautiful, stunning boxes, and they were going down the sides of the pillars, and there were all sorts of paintings on the walls and on the ceiling, and very decorative. There were luxurious kind of the old Georgian sort of sofas along the sides of the seats, the hard seats. It really did look like it had been frozen in time, but it wasn't dirty or dusty. No, it had clearly been cleaned recently. And I found this very interesting. So then I walked up to one of the chests and I decided to try and open it. And I did. The lid was very heavy though, but I managed it. And I couldn't believe what I saw. It was quite literally filled to the brim with golden coins. I was like, what have I stumbled across here? I go to the next one, and it is filled with diamonds. I go to the next one, and it is filled with, like, gemstones and that kind of thing. The next one was filled with golden ornaments, artifacts of some kind. And I started to get a bit nervous. I can feel myself getting nervous now just thinking of it. I think it's because the initial excitement was wearing off. The first time you see something like that, you are overwhelmed with excitement and amazement. But quite quickly you realize that this is obviously something that's very precious to someone or to a group of people, and I'm not sure how they'd feel about me wandering around here. Anyway, I decided I wanted some more answers, as this was all very strange and mysterious, and I noticed that there was a large set of double doors, beautifully decorated doors, that were ahead of me, at the end of this room, the opposite end that I had entered into. So I decided to very gently open one of them. discovered was another chamber, but this one was filled with seats, and they were positioned like you would if you had a kind of meeting. So there were a circle of seats around, as if this was some kind of meeting room for an organization. Just as I stepped in the room, I looked over to the side, and I saw a tiger. Yes, that's right. I told you this would be a hard story to retell. But the tiger was wearing a suit. Yes, I know. Yes, I promise you I'm telling you the truth. The tiger was stood up, and it was talking. It was like a person, but it was a tiger. At this point I believed that perhaps I had inhaled some kind of fumes in the ground and was hallucinating. But I was soon to find out that I wasn't hallucinating at all. The tiger walked towards me, very sharply dressed, and he carried himself very well. And he said to me, that's right, he said to me, can I help you with something? And I said, I think I might be hallucinating because you're a talking tiger wearing a suit in a chamber filled with chairs and gold in the other one, and I found this coming through a tunnel from a building site that I currently own. And he said, oh, bless you, you're not hallucinating. He said, you have accidentally stumbled on one of our meeting rooms. And I said, I'm sorry, who are you? What is this? How are you able to talk to me? You're a tiger. Why are you wearing a suit? He then said this. Apparently, many years ago, there were certain cave networks that opened up in different jungles and forests, and some of the animals went into them to investigate. What they found down there was some kind of a magic power that gave them an intelligence the same level as ours. And over time they learned to speak our languages, and they learned how our economies worked and such. They then used the fact that they were animals to their advantage, and they began hoarding some of our most precious valuables. They did this because, well, they got away with it because they were never suspected of stealing or taking anything, you see, because they were animals. And so they would orchestrate various different bank robberies using a wide selection of different animals. Each animal had its own advantages and disadvantages for doing different things. Some of the smaller animals could get into places that were hard to get into. Some of the larger animals could carry the heavy loads. And over the years, they had hoarded all of this wealth, and this was only one of the locations they had. They was absolutely amazed by this. I still thought that perhaps I was hallucinating. But after a while, you kind of have to sort of come to terms with it a little bit, I suppose, because I didn't feel any different. I was just having a conversation with a tiger in a suit. So I then said, okay, well, I have two questions first of all. One, where are the others? And two, why is there a tunnel leading from here to my building site? Apparently, well, this is what he said, and it does make sense, I suppose, considering apparently that tunnel was there to connect to the building that was there before, and it was effectively used as a secret tunnel to get in and out of the chamber via the previous building. And so, basically, they would, bring in small amounts of gold and diamonds and such through that tunnel. And they have lots of tunnels and lots of these hidden chambers. And because we had knocked the building down to rebuild another one, or to build another one, we had effectively stumbled across the tunnel, which was about to be blocked up. And it was due to be done that day, and I had wandered down there. I did say, well, how come no one else found it? Apparently, they have a deal with some of the building companies higher up, some of the people higher up, and they effectively say, they pay them off, that if they ever do stumble across a tunnel or anything, they keep well away from it, and it will be dealt with the other end, so the tiger's end dealt with it. But I had just stumbled across it by accident. I effectively slipped through the net on that one. I know, it's crazy, isn't it? And that's why I feel so confident that no one will believe you if you ever tell anyone that story. So what happened next was Listen, someone's coming. I tell you what, come and see me again another time, and I'll tell you the rest of the story. Oh yeah, and welcome to the company. You're doing great. I'll see you soon.